Hello and welcome back to Charm English Pod. My name is Maggie and I'm your host. Today is part one of a two-part interview with none other than teacher Vitoria Tamarindo. Vitoria is an English teacher from Brazil, and we initially met on Instagram. She has a teaching page, and we talked over Instagram. I thought she would be a great guest to have on the show because she has a great energy. If you follow her on Instagram, you'll see she has a lot of stories where she posts phrases in English and just goes about her daily life and teaches you little bits and pieces. So I thought she has a lot of creative things going for her, and I was excited to sit down and have a conversation. We initially met on Instagram, so you'll also be seeing our first real meeting. And yeah, we had quite a long conversation, so I divided it into two parts. This part here, you'll see us talking about where we're living, as well as teaching philosophies. And she gives some insight as being a person from Brazil that learned English. And I think it's a really interesting conversation. So without further ado, here is the episode. I would love to maybe start with an introduction. If you could introduce yourself. I know you as Vitoria, but maybe you have a preferred nickname or something else.
Vitoria is great.
Okay, perfect.
And you, Maggie, right? I don't know why I always want to write your name with E and not with letter A. Like, I always have to check if it's Maggie because Maggie is not a common name here in Brazil. So I'm always checking the spelling to see if it's right.
Yeah, I've gotten that before, and I knew a girl named Maggie growing up, so that's kind of funny. We were Maggie and Meggie.
And do you have a nickname?
Maggie technically
Is
is
a
my
nickname,
nickname.
right?
Yeah, but so my full name is Margaret.
Margaret. So beautiful.
Thank you. It's a little bit old-fashioned, but my parents always had the intention to call me Maggie. Like, my mom really liked the name Maggie, so I've never gone by Margaret.
I see. Margaret's a great name as well. My name definitely is Vitoria. It's not my nickname. I don't really have a nickname. People call me Vitoria. My family sometimes they call me V. And
Okay.
people are always asking me if it's Victoria or Vitoria, C or no C. There's no C in my name. People always ask me and I'm like, but isn't it this like it's different Victoria and Victoria, isn't it? Let me see what else. I have been teaching English for almost 2 years now. Oh my god, time flies.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Isn't it? I teach online, I teach 101, and I teach pairs. I don't teach more people than that. Talking about myself, I love learning languages. So I've learned English. I'm still learning, of course. We are all learners, aren't we? Spanish as well. I'm not sure which language will be my next one, but I'm super excited about learning new languages. I love exercising. Today I went to Pilates. I love moving my body, so I go to functional training classes, I hit the gym, I go to Pilates. Not everything in one day, but I like to do different things. Also, about hobbies, reading, listening to music, watching TV shows, the basics. And yeah, I think that's it about myself.
Yeah, and you live in a smaller town, right? Or in kind of a rural area, not inside
Exactly.
the city.
Exactly. I used to live in the big city, São Paulo, but I got married and my husband and we decided to live in the city that he was already living. So I currently live in Sumaré, that it's like 30 minutes from Campinas, that it's like a second or third big city here in São Paulo.
Okay.
But it's kind of a
Yeah.
rural area. Like you see chickens on the streets and horses.
Was that a big adjustment for you, moving to a more rural, remote area?
It wasn't because I felt like I belonged to the rural area. When I lived in São Paulo, I would only go out to go to university because it wasn't remote, but I've always worked remotely. So I was always inside home, you know? So here it's kind of the same thing. I don't really go out much during the week except when I go to the gym or to Pilates or if I need to go to the supermarket or I don't know, have a walk. But yeah, it wasn't a really big adjustment. I kind of prefer like I sleep better.
Yeah, you just have the chickens maybe in the morning,
Yeah,
but not the city
believe
noise.
me, close to my house, I don't hear any chickens, but I do hear the birds, and they sing loud, and I love it. There's actually a
Yeah.
bird nest. Like I don't know how to to say this, like to represent this visually, but like this is the wall of my house, and there's a bird nest, like in a very very small space. It's in my laundry. Yesterday, I cut a few oranges, and I was like, maybe the birds are gonna eat it, but they did not. I think they don't trust me yet.
They're
With
like, "She's poisoning us with her
like I
with
don't
her
want to
oranges."
kill you. Just have a bite, you know.
Yeah, it'll take time. It's interesting because that made me think of the word, like, you have a nest, but then if something is nestled in somewhere, kind of like
Exactly.
in a tight corner,
Yeah,
it made
it's
me make
not
that
really.
connection.
Yeah, it's exactly what I wanted to say because it's not really a nest. Like when you see a tree and there is a nest, it's not like
Mhm.
that. It's like the bird looked at it, that small space, and said, I fit. And that's it. And now this is my new home.
Yeah, maybe the bird didn't need to build the nest because it found a little
Yeah,
corner that works.
exactly. I was
Sorry.
gonna ask about you. You're living in Chile right now. Tell me about the experience.
Yes, I have been living here now it's been 5 years, which when you were talking about time going by quickly, I feel like the time has gone by really quickly since I moved here.
And when you posted that you were moving back to US, I was like, oh my goodness! And I was so fooled. I was so tricked. And then you said, oh, there were many people that were tricked for like my April Fool joke. And I was like, me?
Me, I am people.
I am people.
Yeah, I felt bad because last year I also did an April Fool's joke where I said that I was closing my Instagram account
Jesus
and people
Christ.
people got really mad at me.
Like, are
And
you
then I thought
crazy?
I was like, "Well, this isn't as serious. I'm moving back. You guys will still see me." And then people were also kind of mad at my jokes. So
Right?
I was like, "Okay, next year I'm gonna do something really small and not
And very
mess
close
with
to
people."
April's Fool, you had this Instagram live last week, and then you talked about pregnancy, and I was like, oh my god, now what's next? It was so funny that you recorded a video and you made sure that people knew you were not pregnant. There was no baby coming around.
Yeah, well, a lot of people reacted like a surprised emoji to my story. And I was like, "By the way, guys, I'm not pregnant."
Just
So
letting you know.
yeah, so I think if I were, I wouldn't announce it by randomly having a live class about pregnancy.
You know,
But
who
who knows?
knows, right?
You don't know what people will do online. So, yeah, it's good to be cautious, maybe. But yeah, I've been loving it. I live in Viña del Mar, which is a seaside city. I mean, for anyone listening that's been to California, United States, but not to Chile, it's kind of like California in terms of climate. It's a little bit dry, but not full desert kind of
Thank goodness, right?
thing. Yeah, there is the driest desert in the world in the north of Chile, and I have never been there, but they say that the stars are really beautiful because there's no atmosphere.
I've
So,
heard of it. I was afraid because I'm not good geographically. Like speaking, I'm horrible. So I was gonna say, well, there is a desert there, but I'm not sure, so I'm gonna keep quiet.
you're like, "Maybe I'll not say."
I won't
Well,
say anything.
yeah, it's crazy because since moving here, I've learned so much about the geography of Chile, where if you're not living in a country, it's really hard to situate things. Like, when you
Yeah.
tell me about Brazil, it's such a huge country. I've never been to Brazil, so it's difficult for me to imagine, like, where is Rio? Where is Sao Paulo? It's
Yeah.
hard to understand.
I see that. And you know that Brazil is really huge. I myself have only been to São Paulo, that it's the city that I live. I haven't explored Brazil yet, but it's like huge. It's crazy.
Have you thought of traveling more in Brazil, especially since you work remotely, like, I don't know, spending a little time in another city?
I have thought about moving to the beach. Like I would love living at the beach, but my husband, he doesn't work remotely like I do. So it would be a little bit hard. But yes, I have thought of going to other states here in Brazil, like Rio. I have never been to Rio, or maybe there is this other state called Bahia that
Okay.
it's very famous here in Brazil. Minas Gerais. I have never been to any of these states, and I would love to, especially to taste the food and go to the beach.
Yeah, no, I think when I see because there are Chileans that vacation in Brazil because it's
Yes, it's very
famous for the
close, isn't
beaches.
it?
You can get a direct flight there, so it's
Yeah.
not too
To Argentina
crazy.
too, I think you can get a direct flight to like Buenos Aires, or it's not like going to Japan.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You mentioned that you were not teaching in the past. I'm
Yeah.
curious, how did you get into teaching and your interest in English and teaching English? Like, where did that come from?
Well, I've always been interested in English since I was 10. I have been studying English, having English classes. I loved my English teacher. We would talk the whole class. She would let me talk and talk and talk. The homework, I would do everything at home, to have time to talk because I really like talking. So I
That's
always
amazing.
loved English. It was something that I'm gonna say it was supernatural because it was something that I liked. It wasn't an obligation. It wasn't because I needed. It was like a hobby for me. It was something that I loved doing. When I was like a learner back then, I would sing karaoke's and like alone in my room singing English and practicing pronunciation and everything. So I always liked English. And when I was in university, I thought about doing something to get some extra money. So I was like, well, maybe I could start teaching out of the blue. Like, maybe I could start
Yeah.
teaching. And I started teaching close ones. So I started teaching my mother's husband, I started teaching my friends, I started teaching my sister, and then I was like, well, I think, like, I liked it. I think this could be something. And then I decided to search for more like courses, how to improve my English, how to improve the ways that I teach, to get more up to date with like English terms like phrasal verbs or collocations. These are things that were not presented to me as a learner, or IPA, the International Phonetics Alphabet. I I had no idea. So when I signed up for that course that I mentioned, that it's the TEFL certification, it was like, whoa, this is new. Like ways of teaching, how to teach. grammar, ways of settling your classroom. So it was very, very interesting. And I just got more and more interested in studying all of these things. So that's how I got into teaching. It was something that I started teaching like close ones, friends, and now I teach people from states that I have never even been to. Like I have students from Minas Gerais, from Ceará. There are states here in Brazil. I have lots of students here from São Paulo. And yeah, so that's how I got into teaching.
That's awesome. I'm curious when you were doing karaoke and just
Jesus
loving
Christ.
what songs were you singing? Like what
Let
was your
Let me tell you that I do this up to now when I'm alone. Like my husband works not at home, so when I'm at home all alone, all by myself, I start singing. Before I used to sing like the Chainsmokers, you know, I would love it. There was this moment when I was teenager that I decided I was vintage, so I would listen to Lana Del Rey, Billie Eilish, the Arctic Monkeys, The Neighborhood, and
Mm.
I would sing along, even though I wasn't understanding. And then I started to get more curious. What are they saying? Is this song cool? It's if it's not like in my stories, I usually post old songs because I know what people are saying in current songs. So I'm very, very careful when I want to post something, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because I also had a Lana Del Rey phase when I was into
Haven't we all
Tumblr.
had it? Like it was something, please.
Yeah, like Tumblr, Lana Del Rey. And it's funny because I some of her songs are so intense emotionally, and I don't know if I even had a situation comparable to what she sings about,
Like
but you're
I think
like
I didn't.
you
Like
feel like
14.
you did. Yeah, you're like, "You broke my heart, and I'm jealous," and you're, like, looking out the window, and it's raining outside.
Jesus.
Not
Oh my god. Exactly. Or like the Arctic Monkeys, it's so funny. I don't speak English as my first language. So when I listen to a few things, of course I translate in my mind. And there are things that I listen like, I wanna be your vacuum cleaner. What? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like
Honestly, I think also in English, that's a
like
little bit
cleaning
like,
your
"What?"
dust?
Yeah,
Like even in
exactly.
English, it's like how did he come up with that? It's so funny. And this karaoke thing, I do that nowadays. It's something that I still do it, especially with Spanish, because when I started learning Spanish, I was like, I need something to get me motivated while I study. So I started watching Soy Luna,
Mhm.
and now I know all of the songs.
I love that. Related to teaching, I'm curious about what levels you are teaching and what topics you enjoy teaching to your
Alright.
students.
Well, I teach from like A1 beginner, a person who has never studied English before, to B2 C1. I like to talk about what my students are talking about. So, like, I follow them on social media. I see what they're talking about. I see what they're sharing. Not that I'm crazy. It's like because, no,
Stalker.
like, not that I'm a stalker, but like most of my students, we become friends. We have this relationship. So I have this student, for example, that was talking about Coachella, and she was talking about Sabrina Carpenter and Justin Bieber, how two different concerts they had, right? Like Justin Bieber was scrolling YouTube and singing the old songs, and Sabrina Carpenter, she made that big concert, you know, with lots of like changing costumes and everything. And she was debating on her Instagram about it. And I was like, wow, this is a great topic. Like a 20-minute talk here. What are your opinions about Coachella? So I like to talk about what my students are talking about, um, TV shows that they are watching. So here in Brazil, for example, lots of my students they watched a TV show called Radioactive Emergency, that is about a radioactive accident that happened here in Brazil that I was not aware of. Yes, it was rough. And I did not know. I was like, oh my God, I feel so left out because I didn't know it happened. And everybody
When
was, it happened in the 80s. It was very, very similar to what happened in Chernobyl.
mm,
Yeah.
okay.
But like Chernobyl, we all know. Like everybody
Yeah.
knows it. This one, I did not know. So I was like, Jesus Christ. Like people forgot to tell us in school.
Yeah, I guess that happens a lot. I mean, I feel like I learned so much more about European events in history versus things that happened in the
Seriously.
Americas in
Oh my
history class,
God.
but yeah.
No, exactly. Like in school, we learn about Brazil, but I think this is something that could not have been left out. Like in, I don't know, in a physics or a chemistry class. It's an important
Mhm.
topic, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I like talking about things that are happening at the moment. I like to hear what my students are doing, their achievements, if they had time to. I always ask if they had time to study, if they did their homework, how was their week. And yeah, and we also have like a kind of a book club. So I always ask if they're reading something, if they're consuming some content in English, and I let them talk.
Yeah, I think that's honestly the best because anything you can connect. I feel like a lot of people have a disconnect between their study of English that they've done in school and the real world. And
Yes.
so it's super hard to remember things and you feel like you know things, but then you can never use them. And I think what you're saying about connecting what people actually like and want to talk about is
Yeah,
important.
I don't know where I've seen this, but like for example, instead of myself bringing an image, I said to the student, "You pick an image, take a photo, and then you describe. It's much easier for you to describe what was happening when you took the picture than me like getting a random picture from Pinterest or Google and you tell me what is happening in this image that you were not involved." So I like to, that's what you said. I like to bring a little bit of what is happening to my students' life to the classroom. For example, I have this student that moved out of his house to another house. And I was like, great, let's talk a little bit about this vocabulary of moving out, of settling in. And he was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is so useful because this is happening right now. So if I wanted to describe what is happening in my life, I could use it.
People ask how to learn vocabulary, and every topic in life is associated with a bunch of vocabulary. So
Yes.
instead of just giving a
A
list
list?
of words that I just pulled out of the air, it makes sense to go about it like, okay, moving, we have move in, settle in. These
Move
are different.
out.
Exactly.
No, yeah, like for example, I feel like I when I'm teaching, I like to teach talking about the tenses. I like to teach the present, the past tense and the future tense. We learn all at once and we start to play. Like are you talking
Mm.
about the present right now? I asked about your last weekend. Are you talking about the present or the past? And I'm seeing now results and I'm really happy about this because now my students, we got to the point where we had that class past simple, but they already know how to formulate the sentences, they already know a few verbs, so they are not those students that are always speaking in one tense, like they're always speaking in the present, everything happened today. So
Yeah, I
this
live in the
is,
present moment.
I live in the present moment. Like, no, no, no. And I shared with them, with those students, a list of past simple verbs, and I told them, you are not gonna remember this. Like you're not gonna memorize. So what you're gonna do is, if you need the verb, you search. If you
Mhm.
need, not that you're gonna sleep praying, like spent, go went. Like it's not like that.
Exactly. I think that is also more empowering. It's kind of what do you need for your English? And it might be
Yes.
different from what another person needs.
Yeah, and are you going to occupy your mind with all of the verbs in the past? Like, Jesus, you'll have more things to
Yeah, there are bigger fish to fry.
there are.
So, kind of going based on that, how would you define your teaching style? Do you have any sort of methodology or yeah, have you heard any terms of different types of teaching styles where you felt like this is me?
Yeah, so right now I'm enrolled in this course about teaching using the lexical approach. So, teaching using collocations, this word goes with this one, you know. So, I like this idea also when I started, not when I started following you, but later on, I saw that you talked a lot about chunks. And this is something that I love sharing with my students expressions. I see lots of my students saying that it's raining cats and dogs, and my elementary students saying that, teacher, cut me some slack, please. And it's so funny because I'm like, oh my god, you learned, that's it, that is the structure, perfect, well done. So I feel like my teaching style is communicative. We chat a lot in our classes. I like to see students speaking. It's beautiful to see when they're speaking in the past and they're saying things in the past and then in the present and then things that they're going to do next week. And it's just so cool. So I feel like communicative, and I'm trying to bring into the classroom this idea of lexifying the words and showing them which things comes with which and expressions. For example, I was creating this class and it was about the weather. And I could show that sunny is this and okay. But I was like, well, I'm gonna add a few expressions that we use when we are talking about the weather. For example, cloud nine that I learned when I was listening to your podcast. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah. On cloud 9. Yeah.
So cool. I would always use like over the moon, and then we have cloud nine, and I was like, oh my god, this is nice
We have the moon,
too.
the clouds.
We have
Yeah, we
it,
could
everything's about the sky.
exactly. And I'm curious, just in case someone listening doesn't understand what it means to lexify or doesn't really get what that means, could you break it down a little bit? Like, what does that look like? And if someone's studying English at home, is that something that they could do?
Yeah, sure. I'm not a professional at this topic, let me be honest. But what I mean is, instead of learning just a word, you can learn how these words combines with other words, with other prepositions. For example, you learn the word opportunity. You can miss an opportunity. You can take an opportunity. You can have a big opportunity. So these are ways to acquire more vocabulary. And like, for example, phrasal verbs are also a big part of this like umbrella term, as the teacher, I'm doing this course, and this teacher, she says that we have this umbrella term of collocations, expressions, phrasal verbs. So these are all things that we learn, trying to learn as in the most natural way possible, but to sound a little bit more natural. When you are going to say the words, you don't have to think as hard because you already have the chunk, you know. So I feel like that's what it means.
Definitely. And yeah, I think sometimes people get confused about what is a phrasal verb, what is an idiom, what is an expression. But it's a good point that all of these kind of groups of words fit into this umbrella of chunks that
Yes,
are helpful to
exactly.
learn.
And if you are a learner, sometimes you don't even need to know that this little thing here is a phrasal verb, let's say like that. It's important for us teachers, but you need to know how to use it, right? So this with this, you can say this.
And sometimes people want that of like, I just want to remember one word, but then you fall into the trap of not being able to use that one word in a sentence. And
Yes.
kind of having an instinct of what comes next makes you have that fluency.
Yes. What about your in teaching style? I see that you're very communicative, right?
Definitely very communicative. I think my students could say that I make them do a lot of very, like, strange tasks. I love to have a good laugh in the
Okay.
class. So, an improv game where
Oh, yes, games are essential. I don't know how I forgot to mention the games.
yeah, I'm curious if you have any preferred games, because one that we did recently, which was really funny, was we did improvisation games that you could use if you want to be better at improvisation even in your native language. But we did some in class, and one was gibberish translator, where I asked one student, and gibberish, for anyone listening, it means nonsense language, like blah blah blee blue. That would be
Jesus.
gibberish. And so we did gibberish translator where I asked one student, for instance, "What did you eat for breakfast?" And that student was an alien. So that student says, "Bloop bloop bleep bloop bloop." And then the other student needed to say, "Oh, she had eggs and toast for breakfast,"
This is
and, like,
such a
translate the
hard game. Like
So
translate the language that does not exist.
exactly. Yeah. So I love conversation. I feel that because I have B1 and B2 groups. I feel that with B1, I'm really more dedicated to conversation essentials and I prioritize asking good questions, responding, and telling a story. We do a lot of classes about telling a story about what happened to you. And then with B2, some of that, but also pushing them outside of their comfort zones because they can really comfortably stay in that comfort zone. So it's here's a weird activity. Let's go out of your comfort zone.
Totally. Yes. Like we can get comfortable in our level, right? So yes, we need to pick different topics. Even myself speaking this year, besides this course that I enrolled to a conversational advanced English class, and it was so fun. It has been so fun because it's not over yet. And I've been discussing topics like where would you live? And we there was this class that we talked about morning extreme wellness like trends where people drink like water with lemon and do like the weirdest stuff that no one does like normal people.
Eat a clove of garlic or something.
Exactly, like drink eggs. Like, all right, if you do that, I'm not if anyone who's listening, I'm not judging. I wouldn't do it, but I'm not judging. So it's really cool for us as teachers to get out of our comfort zone and have different types of conversations. I think, especially if you are not a native speaker, and so, as well for students. In my classroom, we always play this game called Bamboozle. That it's a website where there are lots of games where students they have to unscramble the words, or they have to unscramble like to put the sentences correctly in the words in the right place, or they have to fill in the correct adjective, the correct verb to follow a certain pattern. There was this student that it has been some time now that we haven't played anything. She was like, "Aren't we going to play anymore?" And she was upset that we were not playing anything. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
I love when adults get into that yeah, that feeling of wanting to play games. And I think that's such an important part of learning because there's this whole idea that kids are better learners than adults, but part of that is not a biological difference. It's this disposition to play and disposition to experiment and not overthink. And I think kids do that quite well. And it's cool when adults open themselves to do the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, like they get really motivated. Like it's not some because I know that there are some adults that they would be like, "Oh, this is for children. What am I doing here? Like bamboozle, let's play. Like what is this?" But no, I feel like my students they are very open to what I bring into the classroom, and I think you have to trust your teacher. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
A thing that I started doing, and I think it's super cool, it's pre-tasks. So, for example, the students they had their homework, and that was it. Now they have to do something before the class as well, and not only after. Students, please don't hate me. So I like
It's for your own
it's
good.
for your own good. Like I'm really trying here. So, for example, I send something to read or a podcast or I say, well, if you have time, this is what we are going to talk about next week. And I'm trying to be more like connected to like topics, like listening to podcasts, watching more TV shows for my own good as well. So, for example, today I was watching this podcast, watching slash listening this podcast about doom scrolling and I was talking to my students about analog hobbies, that it's become a trend to have a book in your hands, but post a picture that you are reading and those kind of stuff. So I like this pre-task based activities where the student has to put some effort to understand what we are going to talk about next class.
Yeah, I love that. Recently, I had a class where the topic was learning myths. So the students beforehand had to say true or false to
Okay.
different statements. And one of them was being tested on something before you learn it explicitly actually helps you learn.
Mhm.
And some of them thought that was false, that no, that can't be helpful. But it
Mhm.
actually, studies show that it is helpful because you see the gaps in what the students know. They also realize why it's important for them to take the class. Like if
Mhm.
you'd say, "Tell me about your weekend," and the person realizes, "Oh, I can only say 2 sentences. I don't really know how to elaborate." And then they
Yes.
take your class, and then afterwards they can say 6 sentences. It's kind of a good way to feel that
Improvement.
improvement. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. That's what I like. The first 5 to 10 minutes of my class is all about what did you do? How was your week? Then what are you going to do this weekend? Or, to see really if the person knows what they're going to do or what they did, knows how to describe. And it's really cool to see the person just elaborating, as you mentioned.
It builds muscle memory for small talk also.
It does. And also, for example, let's say that we didn't have a specific class about the past. Most of the students know that when we are talking about the past, we are going to say I went and not I go because they remember. Because the
Mhm.
last 5 classes, I was like, yes, you go in the present, you went in the past.
You pop up on their shoulder while they're thinking about what to say.
The chat is also really useful. I use Google Meet, so when they're speaking, my brain is like focus, and I'm like, well, this is like this, and this is like that, and we start to rebuild sentences or like reshape in a way like you could have said that or like this.
I like that approach to like using what you're giving me in order to then teach the grammar instead of just teaching grammar
Yes.
out of nowhere. I had another question. This is a
Okay.
question that I get so much,
All
and I feel
right.
like you're very qualified to answer it because you have always lived in Brazil
Okay.
and your students live in Brazil. People have this perception like, I can't possibly practice my English because I don't live in an English speaking country.
Yes.
And there's no way for me to
No
improve.
way.
So, what do
No
you?
way.
I'm curious if you get those kind of questions, and what your response would be if someone has this perception like, I can't improve my English because I live in Morocco and I don't have anyone to talk to.
This is so funny because no one has ever asked me that question. Like,
Really?
really? I've
I get
never
this
got.
question so much. I'm like, Guys, come
No,
on.
because like people ask me how to improve, but not necessarily because we live in Brazil. Because, for
Mm,
example, let's say that, well, one thing that I've always considered was surrounded myself by English. So since I started learning English, I had this like English, let's say English field. So everything that I consumed was in English. So everything that when I started reading, when I got into intermediate level, only English. Listening to music, it was never hard for me to listen to Justin Bieber and other pop songs. So great in English as well. TV shows in English. So I was 100% surrounded by English, reading, listening. I also took English classes, so I had the writing and the speaking, but I also used other resources to speak. So, for example, there are a few platforms where you can join lives that are currently like happening at that moment, and you can speak to the host, you can speak to other people. I actually made a friend from Puerto Rico doing that, and we would communicate in English because I didn't know Spanish by then, and she spoke English very well, so we would practice. So I was always like, how am I gonna improve? And like shadowing, for example, is something that I've learned just recently. What is shadowing? Before, I was like watching my TV show, repeating, singing my karaoke, and that was it. So I feel like it's 100% possible to practice English outside of, like, not outside, but being in a country where English, and especially in Brazil is not even like, we have Portuguese and that's it. We don't consider English as our second language. We don't consider Spanish as our second language. It's not like that. So you gotta want it, you know? You gotta say, well, I'm gonna watch my TV show and my TV show is gonna be in English. I'm gonna read a book, a children's book. Oh, you are 20, but you are gonna read a children's book, and this book is gonna be in English. So that's what I've always done. What do you say
yeah,
about learning Spanish?
yeah, it's funny because I feel like I improved my Spanish a lot before coming to Chile as well, because I used to volunteer teaching English to Spanish speakers in Chicago. And so I had so many conversations with students where obviously I was teaching them English, but in between classes or in the community center where I was volunteering, people were always speaking in Spanish. So I kind of had to adjust and be able to talk. Even though
Yes.
I took university classes, you have to speak with people, and that feels different from just studying Spanish.
Yes.
I don't know if this is just a mental thing, but when I started to improve my conversational abilities, I was more open to opportunities. So I would be in the metro, and there was a woman who only spoke Spanish, and she's lost. And she comes and asks me a question, and I respond to her in Spanish. And I think it's
Exactly.
because I was ready for the
Yes.
opportunity.
No, this is something that it happened to me just recently in Spanish as well. Oh my god. Like, it's because I speak English, and I participate. I attend a few events. And now I speak Spanish. So I have this, like, well, do you want to speak in Portuguese, in English, in Spanish? What do you want? And there was this woman. She was in the queue. I had just ordered my food, and she didn't know how to use the totem, you know. And it's totem in English, right? Like,
Is it like the screen you used to order?
yes,
I don't know what it's called.
because in Portuguese we call it totem. Like,
It is
this is
called
amazing.
I have no idea. Yeah, totem.
Totem. Okay, yes. So because everything was in Portuguese or English, and I think she didn't speak English, and she was gonna like she was gonna withdraw that situation. She was gonna go to another place to order. And I was like, no, me, I can help you. And she was like, no, but you speak English. Nope, I speak Spanish too. Let me help you. And I helped her order. She ordered, I think, I don't know if she ordered like, it was like hot chicken, something like that. But she ordered. And I was like, oh my God, I did it. This is so
Yeah,
cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels really rewarding to have those interactions.
Yes.
And I always say, because obviously I live in a Spanish speaking country, and I've had situations, interactions where I go to a store and the person working at the store sometimes wants to practice English.
Yes.
And so sometimes people are ready. They're like, "Oh, can I talk to you in English?" And so you just don't know when you'll have an opportunity to practice because
And you
there are
have
so
to
many
take it.
tourists. Yeah.
No, totally. I always say to my students, if you have the opportunity, take it. Like if you go to the beach and you see a person speaking another language, like take this opportunity, try to speak, don't be ashamed, don't be shy. There's no need for that. I always kid with my students. I'm like, we are not shy. We are not shy people. We're not like
Mm.
that. Like go speak, take this opportunity because it's gonna be good for you. You're gonna see that the person understands you, and this feels like a reward, like you said.
Especially when they're visiting your country, because if they're visiting your country and have a language barrier, they probably feel a sense of vulnerability. And so
Totally.
someone, I don't know, meeting them halfway or even like speaking their language to them, I think that that is going to be a good situation to
Yes,
practice. Sometimes,
definitely.
obviously, people make comments like, well, I don't want to speak English to an English speaker in the US or the UK because they might not have patience. But I think when someone's visiting your country, they're more in that vulnerable position.
Position, yes. I totally agree.
All right, so that was our first part of this interview. I hope that you enjoyed it. As you can tell, we were laughing a lot in this episode. It was really enjoyable. And stay tuned because the next part is coming soon. So, subscribe to my channel if you want to get notified. And also, I'll put Vitoria's Instagram in the caption so you can follow both of us if you want to continue seeing our content. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day.